Can you hear me? Yes? Thanks so much for coming to this very, very special panel that we have for you on deforestation and the Amazon. Deforestation across the globe with a focus on the Amazon. I'm going to introduce my colleague, Ricardo, who works on the Amazon and is quite new to EY. Amazing entry. Carlos Nobre, who's an expert on the Amazon, and Kevin Conrad, CEO of Coalition for Rainforest Nations, Patricia Allen, and a new panelist that I'm going to let Ricardo introduce. Please, we're going to have questions and answers at the end, so please feel free to ask questions all along, or you will have a chance at the end to ask.
So thank you all to be here. It's a pleasure to have such important persons here like Carlos and Patricia, Eduardo, and the Coalition for Rainforest Nations, Kevin, here with us. So I think today we're going to have a very important conversation about how to create value with the Amazon and what the whole of the business and what they can do to protect the forest. And so, Keith, thank you very much for having us here. And
Thank you very much for coming. Really, it's really special. And we're going to start with Carlos Nobre to talk about what's happening in the Amazon. You know, what kind of progress are we making? How are we making it? And how we can apply it to the rest of the rainforests across the world.
Good morning to all. Thank you very much for this opportunity to share with you some concepts, ideas about the Amazon. I will report briefly the conclusions of the science panel for the Amazon. We created the Sustainable Development Solutions Network, created the science panel 3 years ago, 2019, when the deforestation and fires exploded in the Amazon. So we put together 240 scientists, including 7 indigenous scientists, and released a report last year at COP26 about the Amazon, a scientific assessment. And this report made, let's say, 4 key messages, and I will say about those key messages. The first key message was an immediate moratorium on deforestation, forest degradation, and wildfires over southern Amazon. I will explain why. We are now, the science has shown with great confidence that huge area in southern Amazon that goes from the Atlantic all the way to Bolivia, the forest in Bolivia. This is 2.2 million square kilometers, is at very close, at the edge of this cliff of the tipping point, the point of no return, in which we can lose most of these forests. Actually, not only there, I will explain why. This huge area will become an open canopy degraded ecosystem. It's a kind of a savanna, tropical savanna, but we don't want to say it will become like the tropical savanna south and north of the forest. In south of the forest, we call Cerrado, because the savanna, tropical savannas, north, Gran Sabana and south, Cerrado, they are very, very rich in biodiversity, and they store a large amount of carbon. But this is an evolution over tens of millions of years. This degraded ecosystem that we are seeing to unfold over southern Amazon is a highly degraded savanna, losing most of the carbon and losing the biodiversity. Why we are so close to this tipping point? Because we are seeing all the signs of the tipping point there. It's not only a projection. I was one of the first authors. 33 years ago, we published papers saying about the risk I call hypothesis of savannization, in 1990 in a paper in Science, because we said, if deforestation continues, the Amazon, the southern Amazon, will become a degraded savanna. But that was a projection. Now it's no longer a projection. We are seeing that. Why? Because the dry season in this huge area in southern Amazon is 5 weeks lengthier today compared to 1979, in 40 years. So, for us here at the COP27, climate change, we don't say, when we see a big sign of climate change, well, everyone says Arctic sea warming, 4 degrees. We say melting of the Greenland ice sheets, tremendous melting. But then I say southern Amazon, because 4 weeks, 5 weeks longer dry season. So the dry season there is becoming very similar to the savanna dry season. The tropical savanna, south and north of the Amazon, is 6 months dry season. So that's one way. The other way is the dry season is not only longer, it's hotter, 2-3 degrees, 20-30% drier, and tree mortality in this huge area is increasing. And they are wet climate tree species. The savanna climate tree species in the Amazon, they are more resilient because they are adapted to long dry season. So we see a great increase in tree mortality in this more than 2.3 million square kilometers. So that's why we are saying, and also over southern Amazon, the forest, I'm not talking about deforestation, wildfires, degradation. The forest has become a carbon source. The forest is losing more carbon than removing. It's no longer, in that area, a carbon sink. So that's why I say this whole area is very, very near tipping point. Unfortunately, much more under risk than tropical forests in Africa or Southeast Asia. We don't see the closeness of tipping point in this other tropical forest. So that's the Amazon. So that's why we need urgent action. So the first science panel for the Amazon recommendation, moratorium in the southern Amazon. And then, like in a COP26, all more than 130 countries signed, all Amazonian countries except Venezuela, but now Venezuela is already also joining this effort. They say zero deforestation before 2030. So also we recommended completely zero deforestation, and also I should add also zero forest degradation, because in the Amazon we have about 1 million square kilometers. Amazon forest has something more than 6.5 million square kilometers of original forest. We have more than 1 million square kilometers of clear-cut deforestation, and also 1 million square kilometers, several stages of forest degradation. So we say zero deforestation, forest degradation before 2030. And then we move on. The third recommendation was solution spaces. Let's look for solutions. And then the first solution that we are proposing, I just want to also announce, on November 15th, not far from here, just in the P104 here, very close to here, in the Legal Amazon Hub, we are going to launch three policy briefs, and one is about the tipping point that I just mentioned, and the other one is about a big forest restoration. We are going to propose all Amazonian countries, and with the support of all countries in the planet, and particularly in the developed world, for us to develop a very large scale forest restoration. We need a forest restoration, of course, initially, obviously, to reduce or to remove hundreds of millions of tons of carbon dioxide a year. So we are going to propose a forest restoration project which is not less than 50 million hectares, ideally even more. Why? Because we learn that the secondary forest grows very fast. And so we want to really to restore the forest in southern Amazon, hoping that the forest restoration will start making the Amazon function, the forest in southern Amazon, as the forest always for millions of years works, which is recycling very efficiently water. So the forest recycles water so efficiently that you keep the atmosphere moist and you generate a lot of rainfall. Between 30 and 50% of the rain in the Amazon basin depends on this recycling of water. So that's our third recommendation, a large scale forest restoration, one of the largest in the world. As I said, absolutely important to combat the climate emergency, for us not to move from this very difficult target of 1.5 degrees warming. Very difficult, but we have to do everything we can, not, of course, reducing fossil fuel combustion, for sure, the most important aspect, but also to protecting the tropical forest and using the tropical forest to restore. So that's the third. And the fourth one, I will be very brief because Patricia will address the fourth recommendation that we made in the Science Panel for the Amazon was, what's the economic potential of the forest in the Amazon? Today, we are seeing that some of the forest products may present a tremendous economic potential. And all of us, all of you, of course, know acai berry, which became a product, market globally. Acai berry produced in agroecological systems are bringing $1.2 billion to the Amazon economy. Acai berry and also other agroecological systems, they improved the livelihoods of more than 500,000 families in the Amazon. So the conditions are there. For instance, agroecological systems producing tens of products of the forest, they have let's give you 1 hectare of these agroecological systems, they have a profit of $1,000 per year, $1,000. Cattle ranches in the Amazon, maximum of $100. Agroecological systems make much more sense economically. And somebody may say, no, but we need meat because the world wants to import meat. The world is increasing consumption of meat. Of course, as you know, climate would require us, all of us in the planet, to change our diets to reduce meat consumption. However, but agroecological systems, economically, they make much more sense. So this new economy that we want to promote in the whole Amazon is an economy of standing forest. So we say standing forest bioeconomy, and also, and Patricia will say more about that, how to develop, how to add value to this value chains, etc. So this is the new economy we are going to promote, and I want to finalize it by saying we, the scientific community, the Science Panel for the Amazon, we also want to create very challenging, we call Amazonia Institute of Technology. We want to create in all Amazonian countries a modern Institute of Technology. We have partnership with MIT in the US, MIT Quality, to develop this new bioeconomy. We hope now with the election of President Lula in Brazil, Colombia with President Petro, and many other Amazonian countries, we are going to be able to create very, very rapidly this new Institute of Technology. That's the idea, to find nature-based, science-based solutions, but also merging that with the knowledge of indigenous people, local communities. Indigenous people in the Amazon, they've been living there for 12,000 years, always with the forest standing. So that's the concept of this institute, Amazon Institute of Technology. So that's the idea, to help to promote this new economy. It's very urgent to create a new economy. Finally, I just want to say we need global collaboration, but this is very urgent. We have to zero deforestation, forest degradation immediately and create this new economy benefiting all Amazonian population, including the indigenous people, the local communities. So that's our target, our goal, our challenge, but I'm pretty sure and optimistic that we are going to reach that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'm glad everybody's listening. You made just one more question for you. You made a movie with Ricardo here about Amazon 4.0. Can one of you tell us about that project?
Yes, Amazonia 4.0, 4.0 is the idea of bringing to the Amazon Industry 4.0. So why? Because Industry 4.0 now in this century became very friendly, user-friendly, very inexpensive. All technologies are available. And this Industry 4.0 can really bring solutions for adding value to all these forest products. And also, Amazon has the largest, I did not mention that before, but largest biodiversity on the planet. And when you look at how much of the biodiversity products really contribute to the economy globally or the Amazonian countries, almost zero. So we need to bring modern industrialization. Modern industrialization. Our president-elect Lula mentioned in his initial speech that Brazil has to industrialize again. So that's the idea. Industry 4.0 to bring very high tech, but also with combining that with the knowledge of the indigenous population. This is a big challenge, but we are going to overcome that challenge.
Carlos, thank you very much. It's always a pleasure to hear you speaking about the Amazon, about the challenges, but about the opportunities that we have. And as you said, it's urgent. We don't have enough time, and we have an opportunity, and we cannot lose this opportunity right now. So this panel shows them how is important the collaboration. So I think this COP is more than the COP of implementation, but I would say that is the COP of integration. Integration between the public sectors, integration between the private sector, institutions, academia, and of course, science. And maybe Eduardo will say a little bit about that, but Eduardo is the CEO of a hub, a sustainability hub in Brazil, to put together all these players to deliver the solutions that we need. So, and this integration will give us the scale and speed that we need to achieve the goals. And today we know that companies that integrate sustainability in their strategy create much more innovation. And in Brazil, specifically, the innovation, it's largely related to the way that we relate to nature. Okay, so our capital, our nature capital combined and explored in the right way can create value for the planet, for the society, and for the businesses. As Carlos mentioned, we have the largest biodiversity in the world. We have the largest offset carbon market in the world, $15 billion till 2030. And you have a great potential for clean energy as well. So, and all of these natural capitals come from our biomes. And our biomes is our greatest fortress. We know that. Starting with the Amazon, of course, but we have other important biomes like Mata Atlântica, is where 70% of the Brazilian population lives. And last year, we released this movie with Carlos Nobre, and Ion, the producer, is here as well. So, but the Amazon 4.0, the reset begins, won a series of international prize because in the movie we show the possible solutions for the Amazon. We speak a lot about the problems, but we have to speak about the solutions that we have. So, and UI, we need to show to our clients that sustainability is the best toolkit that they have to protect their business from non-financial risks at the same time that they can unlock opportunities to become more or to embed more innovation. So that's very important for us. Sustainability, there is a strong correlation between sustainability and innovation. And that's how we create value with sustainability. The problem of the emissions in the world came from fossil fuel. So that's different for us in Brazil. Our emissions came from deforestation, came from, for example, land use. And Carlos, I don't know if I'm right, but it cost much less for us to become net zero because, and it take a short time compared to other countries that had their emissions coming from fossil fuels. So for us in EY, we are trying to put all the service line that we have there, and Kate can tell us more about that, tax or strategy, consulting, climate change, and solutions, put all of them integrated to create solutions for our clients. So we know that we don't have so much time, so much time, and we don't have all the answers. So it's urgent. And now I think we can hear a little bit of our partners here. Oh, in the end of the panel, we'll have Camila Camilo that is here. She's from Brazil. She's an influencer. She's a great person. And she will tell little bit for us about what the next generation expect from us. What we have to do for the next generation. That's right, Camila? Yeah, okay. So, thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you. And now I want to turn to Kevin Conrad. We talked about the Amazon. We're focused on the Amazon. Kevin leads the Coalition for Rainforest Nations. This is the pavilion we're sitting in. Dr. Nobre noted the reduction in deforestation in Papua New Guinea as soon as we got here. Kevin, can you talk a little bit about how this applies to the broader environment of rainforests across the globe?
Thanks, Kathy. And as always, Carlos does such an excellent job laying out the science. And I know Patricia's going to talk about the economics, but let me just sort of use that combination for my comments. Why forests are being lost is due to market failures. We're valuing wood and land more than we're valuing ecosystem services. So as you see in Brazil and as you see in Papua New Guinea, when emission reductions are coming down, two things are happening. Strong policy and governance and putting incentives in the right place. Financial incentives. We've got to overcome those opportunity costs in order to maintain long-lasting emission reductions, particularly in forests and with forest-dependent communities and forest-dependent agricultural. So it's always fun to listen to Brazil because Brazil was one of the most successful countries in the world at reducing rates of deforestation. They reduced deforestation, I think, by 70% at one point, and then the governments changed. The money wasn't provided as promised by the international community, and then a choice was made to open up agriculture again in sensitive areas because there was no revenues to help farmers convert to alternative livelihoods. So I'm really interested to hear from Brazil, what's next? You have a new government. You have a great track record until the last 4 years. And what can we expect to see from Brazil going forward? So Patricia, I know you have some thoughts on that.
It's a challenging thing to speak after Professor Carlos and after you all mentioned all the challenges that we have and bring some solutions. I think it's what we all need, not only Brazil, but in the whole world. If you've seen and if you've been following the discussions at this COP, we actually have a big challenge because most of the governments are asking us to relax the goals because nobody believes any longer that we'll be able to achieve the goal of the 1.5 degree. This is actually quite serious. We still can make that happen. It's challenging. It's actually almost impossible, but it is possible. And while it's possible, we cannot give up. And I'm here, even before I start talking about Brazil, I want to start talking about the advisory firms because I am at the EY pavilion and I believe the advisory firms actually have a very important mission to accomplish in this moment because all the advisory firms are working with the main companies, the main governments, the main multilateral organizations, and it's time for us, and I'm saying us because I'm back to be an advisor again with Systemic. It's a small consulting firm, and we chose to be small, to work together with other advisory firms, to work together with other organizations, because we need to help all the big companies and governments to achieve the 1.5. We cannot give up, and we need to work together. For that to happen, Brazil is part of the solution. Brazil is being part of the problem, as Professor Carlos said. For those who don't know Professor Carlos, we are next to one of the main scientists in the world. He was recognized by the Royal Society as the first Brazilian scientist and the main expert in climate in the world. And we need first to unite climate and nature to make this goal happen. The second thing that we need to do is to rethink our economic models. And Brazil, again, is part of this solution. We are able to create an economic model that's based on nature-based solutions that put nature at the center, climate as the main goal, and also put people at the center. Brazil, in the last few years, has been copying the models from other countries, and we are not growing. And it's not only that. We don't grow, we are increasing inequality, and we are killing our forests. By doing so, we are no longer a carbon sink, and we are issuing carbon to the world as well. So the world today issues around 60 gigatons of carbon every year. Brazil issues 2 gigatons. Our net emissions are 1.1 gigatons, exactly because we still sink carbon. The forests are working very hard, but working too hard, and we are not helping. So we need to stop deforestation now. If we stop deforestation now, and we go back to being a carbon sink, we can actually be net zero in carbon by 2030. What we need to do to make that happen? Stop deforestation, work in sustainable agriculture models, work in regeneration of our forests, work also in decarbonizing our industries, because our industries in Brazil also are in charge of 1/4 of the carbon that we issue in Brazil every year. So around 500 million tons of carbon are issued by the industry. So if we stop issuing carbon in the forests and we help our industries to take the emissions to half of that by 2030, we will be the first big nation that's net zero in the world. And we can make that happen by 2030. Why we need to make that happen? To show to the world that this is possible in a big nation with so many problems like Brazil. Good news is that we can do that while we create value to the world. We can add $150 billion to our economy in Brazil by 2030. That's more than 1% in GDP to our country. And we do that by creating value in the industry, in the agriculture system, in the livestock production, also in the forest with bioeconomy. Bioeconomy is actually the main value, but it's also the riskier value. That's why I'm happy to see our friends from the investment sector here as well, because we need to work in blended finance instruments to make that happen. It's impossible to de-risk the models, investments, without new sophisticated models that combine the work that we do in public, private, social sector, all together in models that with blended finance can invest where we have higher risks, higher risks by economy, also regeneration of forests. Because today, the regeneration models are based on the existing very new carbon markets. These carbon markets, they don't value yet the standing forests and the biodiversity models, the more complex models, because we need to go back to those complex models because they are more effective as carbon sinks. So in a nutshell, good news is that we can grow, we can fight inequalities, we can become net zero by 2030, but we need to work together and we cannot forget the people. That's why we launched this report that's called the Amazon Marathon. And in the Amazon Marathon, we talk about two races. In COP26, we launched two races, the race to zero and the race to resilience. In the race to zero, we talk about carbon, how we can become net zero. But in the race to resilience, we talk about the people. And in the Amazon, we have 28 million people. And Brazil, unfortunately, went back to the hunger map. We went back 30 years in terms of hunger. And the Amazon is the worst region in hunger. I can't believe, and it's almost impossible to imagine, that a place that's so rich in water, in forests, is the worst place in Brazil in hunger. Right now in Brazil, 1 person in every 10 people is starving. In the Amazon, it's 3 people for every 10. This is unacceptable for the Amazon, for Brazil, for the world. If you want to have a standing forest, we cannot have people starving in that region. So the model that works for the forest needs to work for the people. We cannot blame the people who are today living from illegal activities because they don't have other alternatives. And we need to fix that now. It's 28 million people. We bring the solutions here. You will see that the investments are not that high. We are talking about $5 billion per year to help all the people in the Amazon, the people who are starving, the people who are suffering the most. We can make that happen. The total size of the investment to unlock the $150 billion that I mentioned, it's up to $74 billion. So we can unlock more value than the investments needed. And that's what we need to change right now to create an economic model that's fair to the forest, that's fair to the people, and that creates value to business. So that we have in the Amazon Marathon, and that's what we can unlock together. Thank you.
Carlos, I know you have to leave now, but we have some more minutes. I will invite Camila to come here. Carlos, thank you very much. Camila, please come here. Patricia, thank you very much. Thank you very much for all the information and you said, I think, what we should do and how much it will cost for us. But it's not a cost, it's an investment that we need to do. So now,
we actually use the word investment exactly because of that. It's not a cost.
It's investment. It's investment. So maybe in the short term, it will cost a lot. But in the medium and long term, we will survive and we will be here. So that's important because in the end of the day, it's all about people. It's all about people. So, and that's why Camila is here. Camila, thank you very much. Camila, it's a young voice from Brazil. She can tell us a little bit of her history and her role in the World Economic Forum. And Camila, I will pass for Katie. Maybe Kate can ask you something about Brazil and about what we should expect from the next generation.
Yeah, I think he just asked the question, what can we expect? We rely a lot on this next generation to demand, right? To insist. Are we going to make that in Brazil?
So, good morning, everyone. First of all, the next generation actually is the actual generation, like is the current generation. We are here and we are hard workers. I think the issue is thinking that we need to be like a rescue when we are able to work together. We've been like studying a lot. We've been like trusting science when our governments are like like they are negationists right now. So I think the youth and of course the young generation can be the hands to our brains, can be your hearts. Professor Schwab said that we need like 5 things. We need muscles, we need brain, we need heart. Also, we need like collaboration and we need like advisory. So we can be the hands right now, but we also available to be our brains too. Like the indigenous, one indigenous activist, friends of mine, she said, nothing about us without us. So we must do something for the forest with the people that lives there. 5 years ago, I went to Amazon for the first time in my life, and it was really the most sad experience because I was in a plane looking to the window and I could see like the deforestation and the forest standing. And when I saw that image in Pará state, I started crying. After met my first samauma, which is one of the biggest tree in Amazon. One samauma, like adult samauma, can put in the air 1,000 liters of water in the air like every day. And a lot of people,
And they live 800 years.
yeah, and over 100, like 1,000 years. In Pará State, they have one Samauma with 900 years. So like these trees are seeing the whole thing in our country. Okay, oh sorry, I'm still learning. Like,
We want them to hear you.
okay. So those trees are telling us stories, but most of them, some of us can see trees as assets. And for me, at this point, it's okay see trees as assets because I need to sometimes convince the investors that the trees are good assets. But also when we change our minds to see trees and people, not as just assets, but key resources, like connect them to our value chain, connect them to our supply chain, make sure that our way to work is like as just enough that those people deserve, we can change the way we do business. Yesterday, someone told me that sustainability is the future of profit. And I want to believe that because if we do that, all of us will win. I've been afraid to lose my friends. Amazon has, like just Brazilian Amazon, 38 million people living there. And most of them live in urban areas. So we must talk about adaptation for those people living in urban areas. If you go to Manaus, or if you go to Belém, or if you go to Rio Branco, you see a lot of urban issues that are not addressing because the government don't have the resources. They don't understand the urban issues because they are always living in the forest. So we can help, the advisory companies can help, the youth can advisor too. A lot of activists are like standing for those spaces. And I really believe that together we can collaborate, but we're talking about collision. It's not about everyone thinking the same way. It's respect different perspectives. So must bring to the table different perspectives. But Camila, we are bringing you to the table. What you are doing right now? I've been working to raise awareness about climate for ground people because they are suffering the effects of climate, but they can relate climate with daily lives, like with daily issues. So we must work to simplify our languages to bring those people together with us So thank you. I think this is all for now.
Thank you very much, Camila. We are almost in the end of the panel. I will ask a question for Kate. Yeah, for you. And then Eduardo can speak a little bit about the AYA. But Kate, we know that sustainability is everybody business. And sustainability it is not an easy task. So we need the financial sector together with the businesses. The financial sector will finance the businesses, but it's not a problem just for one company. So we have to understand all the value chain, all the sustainability, all the supply chain, and most of the times is not a task just for a sustainability department. You have, for example, a strategy. You have, for example, consulting, transformation, and, for example, tax and incentives. So what can you say for us about that?
Okay, that was a good tee up. I would say you're absolutely right. It's not just about sustainability departments looking at practices. Everyone across the company, the C-suite to the financial, a lot in the financial stack. We need everyone to be focusing on the benefits of sustainable technologies, operations, supply chains, etc. It's not, as I like to say, it's not just about that solar credit that you pick up in the US because of the new bill. It's about creating an entire kind of strategy, or we call it the sustainability journey, but it's holistic across the company. And it has to involve, the CFO, the CEO, the tax director. Everyone's got to be on board. I always say the policies, every time a country makes a pledge, and there'll be a lot of pledges here, that pledge, they go home and they have to form a policy pathway to reach that pledge. People just don't, reduce emissions because there was a pledge. They need a policy pathway to guide them. And those policy pathways spell out what governments really want people to do. You got to get involved as companies, as people, as youth, and say, this policy pathway, it's not working. Do this, do that. We need business to weigh in and say what's maybe more effective. We need citizens to weigh in, to demand more. But watch the policy pathways. And I'd say, especially for business, weigh in, speak out, kind of get involved and make sustainability the key strategy. Because, I always say, people can, carbon pricing, it adds price. Carbon this, it adds a cost, it adds a cost. The cost is inaction, right? The big cost is inaction. If we do nothing, we don't do pricing, we don't do incentives, we do nothing, that's when it gets expensive. And I say all of the company, and, I'm a tax person, so we like to kind of, tax has been used to engineer social goals since the beginning of tax. But we really need not just to look at these narrow pathways. We need to form big strategies, weigh in, make sure they're effective, and speak out, get involved in the process.
Thank you very much, Kathy. And Eduardo, we have here 2 minutes more, but you and Patricia are involved with the AYA initiative, as I just mentioned before. If you could maybe say a little bit in 1 minute, what's the objective of the AYA and why we UI should be with you there, and what we can build together, because it's all about collaboration. And the floor is yours.
Yeah. Thank you, Ricardo. And first, thank you for all of us for this inspiring panel. I deeply believe that as integration is the key word we have been talking at COP, the second word is action. Because timing is critical. And the only way we can make everything we need to do and action in the next years is being together. That's why coalitions like the Coalition for Rainforest Nations and AYA of partners are here to make sure we accelerate the process so necessary to this decarbonization process in Brazil and the global south as a whole. We have 4 pillars at AYA. The first one is being global. So we want to put Brazil at the center of this discussion, as we are seeing here. And not only Brazil, Indonesia, Congo, and all the countries that are with the rainforest itself. The second, and that comes where we are very happy to be together with UI in this journey, is solutions. We can only do that having all the companies, the advisory, the consulting, engineering, law firms together to help all the big companies that need to decarbonize. Also, having a place to have the discussion. That's why we created a headquarters in Brazil in a 200,000 square meters place that actually lives by the words that we are saying here, actually being sustainable, all renewable energies, and creating a space for the discussion. So that's what AYA does. That's why we created a report. We created 11 pathways on how we're going to reach that. And we are here to join us. Like, I think the main question is please join us and work together with other global coalitions and to make this work together. And happy to share the leadership with UI that's been done such a wonderful work on this area globally.
Yeah, I want to thank everybody for coming. You know, keep on the Coalition for Rainforest website and channel. Look at what they're doing. They're doing marvelous work around the world. They're saving our forests. And, you know, keep in touch, stay on the channel, and send any questions, right? Thank you, everybody. Yeah,